Welcome back to the news today. What may be the oldest and the world's oldest fragments of the Quran have been found by the University of Birmingham. Radiocarbon dating found the manuscript to be at least 1,370 years old, making it among the earliest in existence. Here's Ayman Siksik on the finding and who may have written it.
An unexpected treasure at the University of Birmingham. Here at the library of this school in the UK, fragments of a priceless early copy of the Quran were discovered.
We've had the manuscript radiocarbon dated, and it's proved to be one of the earliest Quranic manuscripts, a treasure that is of global significance to Muslim heritage and to the study of Islam, as well as being a source of great pride to the local community.
But this treasure of global significance had initially been thought to be far less ancient. Radiocarbon dating revealed the rarity of the finding. The Quran manuscript is dated between the year 568 and 645. Prophet Muhammad is believed to have lived between 570 and 632. That means the University of Birmingham parchment folios are at least 1,370 years old, and most astonishingly, the person who copied the text could have known the Prophet or heard him preach. This is why the text is not only significant historically, but also theologically.
The parts of the Quran that are contained in those fragments are very similar indeed to the Quran as we have it today. And so this tends to support the view that the Quran that we now have is more or less very close indeed to the Quran as it was brought together.
The university will put the manuscript on public display in October this year, and at the Birmingham Central Mosque, expectations are that the finding will attract people from all over Britain.
And with me right now to understand this big issue, and it is big, senior Middle East analyst Ali Waqid. Good evening. Thank you very much for coming. And Sheikh Ahmed Noorudeen, who is from the Ahmadi Muslim community. Good evening. Thank you very much for coming. You know, I'm trying, Ahmed, to understand this is big. This is big because this person who might written this manuscript or this specific Quran, he probably knew Prophet Muhammad.
Yes, of course. Well, this news that we have received is only affirmation to our faith in what God has told us 1400 years ago. That inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu hafidhun. That we are the ones who have sent down the Quran and we are the ones who will protect it. We are its guardians. And one way that we see this is through the manuscripts that we read, which have been handed down after the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. But also what we must remember is that the Arabs, they remembered this within themselves. They memorized the Quran within their hearts. So that was another way which the Quran was actually protected. And this Quran, whether it be written down in this manuscripts which we find now, it is exactly the same thing which we find at the time of the Holy Prophet, and we read exactly the same Quran within our hands. And it is the Quran which teaches us love, which teaches us peace, and which teaches us that we should call onto the way of the Lord with wisdom and with goodly exhortation. And the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, we believe he was the embodiment of this holy book. So when we look into his life, we also see exactly what the Quran is telling us. And we see when he calls to his Lord, what does he say? He says, "O Lord, these people do not believe." But does his God teach him to fight? No. He teaches them that you should say salam and forgive them, because in the end they will know.
You know, we're hearing these beautiful words coming from Ahmed Noorudeen, and you know, I'm looking at what is happening right now in the world, Ali, and I'm looking at how people translated it, and how people are taking the Quran and just taking it to a different direction. This finding, can we say that it can affect or maybe give like ISIS or terror organizations who are using the religions, another reason to say that they're right?
No, unfortunately, Lucy, I don't think that this reveal will have any impact over the organizations that are fighting right now. But I want to mention that the interfights between different groups in the Islam, now we know it under the form of Sunnite versus Shiites, and it's not new. It's not only in this era. The moment the Prophet was dead, the interfights started. It started first to be a political fights, and then physical fights that ended by the killing of the grandsons of the Prophet. So I don't believe that any reveal of any kind will have any impact. Unfortunately, the different streams within Islam is something that started from day one after the death of Prophet Muhammad. The problem is with the Muslim different political forces, and I call them political forces, is that the differences between them are solved by the sword and not by the dialogue.
You know, I'm trying to understand how the Quran, this specific Quran, got to the University of Birmingham in London, and I'm not looking, I cannot find it, because if we're talking about Mecca, if we're talking about Saudi Arabia, and I'm trying to understand how it got from there to Europe. It shows us what exactly?
Well, I believe that this is another miracle from God, because He promised us that Islam is a religion for the whole world, and that the Prophet was a messenger, a mercy for the whole of mankind. So his message will also reach every corner of the earth. And we must remember that this is the text which is always the same, whether we differentiate in its tafsir, as we say, its explanation, interpretation. We must also remember that the text is exactly the same. When it says that we should jadilhum billati hi ahsan, we should have a dialogue with them, and if we are to ever dispute, then we should dispute with that which is in the best manner. So that's something we should never forget, that God has never told us that we should dispute by fighting. He's always told us the best way to do it is to dispute with them in the best manner, and to do with wisdom.
So how do you explain these fightings? How do you explain that
it's all down to the misinterpretations, that's all. The Quran is exactly the same Quran, and the way to remember how we should follow it is by looking at the life of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because as I said, he is the embodiment. And if you look into his life and to the history of Islam, we see exactly what the Quran is telling us. We don't see anything else. He never acted against the Quran. And we never see that he ever fought anybody. Whenever the sword was raised, it was always in defense.
You know, if I'm looking at this and it's always in defense, and people took it as interpretation, and now they're killing each other and murdering each other in the name of the Prophet, in the name of God, in the name of the Quran. They're killing and murdering and massacring people with even not thinking about the mercy that we are talking, and maybe we all been taught. You know, I'm trying to look at this, and I'm seeing that there is no difference, and we are living in a country that is based on, let's say, religious wars. How do you explain to Jewish people who are coming and saying that in the Quran you are seeing that the Prophet ordered to kill the Jews?
No, you cannot explain, Lucy. Unfortunately, I think that this is a war that we already lost, because you can do every effort, but one video of the Islamic State published on YouTube or in TV will have much more impact over the way how people see Islam and see Muslims in the world. They will see that Lucy and Sheikh Ahmad are not representing the Islam, and that the Islamic State are those who are ruling and are those who are dictating the order of the day for the Muslim community. We live in a world of medias, and we know that media tend to go to the extremes, and today the extremes are represented by the Islamic State. I think that it is a question, and we talked very often on this issue, it is a question of education, and education should start from very early to understand that even if we take the same text and we interpret it in a very different way, or we explain it in a different way, it doesn't mean that we should fight over our differences, and we should dialogue And one of the problem of the Oriental and mainly Islamic community is the lack of tolerance to the opinion of other, to a third opinion, and immediately you are defined as infidel. Immediately you are defined as somebody who goes against the Prophet rules. And we see, as you mentioned, that people are slaughtering other people, are slaughtering other Muslims. Okay,
yes, exactly.
Other Sunnite Muslims on the name of the Prophet, while the Prophet said that if you kill one person, you almost killed all humanity.
How come we're not hearing more voices like you? How come our voices, the voices of Islam that want peace and understanding, are not being heard enough?
Well, this is down to the media. The media tends to choose the hot topics. And we know that, fighting and all this, they sell papers. But, that doesn't mean that the Islam is dead as a religion. There's always communities in Islam who tolerate, who preach tolerance and peace and love for one another. And whenever there is war, then what does the Quran tell us? It tells us that if they incline towards peace, then you should also incline towards peace. So if ever you are victorious, you should not, force them to do anything. La ikraha fid din. There's no compulsion in religion.
With these beautiful words, gentlemen, thank you very, very much. And
thank you very much.
We need to raise our voices much higher, even if we're working here in the media. Thank you very much for this.